Start reading today with pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm excited about today's meeting because we have a representative member of Greenway, and I guess there's some pretty good infrastructure in our metropolitan area. So I'm excited. Any happy about today for this beautiful day we're going to have?
I have several. I actually have money. I have hard cash for a change. First time that hard cash has been in my pocket since March of 20. Anyway, it was pointed out that we probably need to find a new newsletter editor because the current one we have evidently is screwing up too much. So I would be happy to entertain that motion for somebody else to start a search for that. Moving on, we kept the economy going last weekend. That's all that's left. I had to buy a new washer and dryer. That was $1,800 shot. Mary needed 2 skirts. That was, clothing prices are through the roof. I mean, everything is, but it was actually nice to get out and realize that you are keeping the economy going in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, yes, I stand where I'm told to stand and I don't move until it's time to get.
What do we got today?
You at least yeah, at least some people read it. I will give credit there, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right. Anyway, my son's wedding. My cousin Klues. I just invited. Again, we're big state. So they're and second treatment today. So they decided to do it outpatient. Yeah, chemo treatment. So
It's good.
Very good. Being all for the good of the club and the good of the Rotary. Mr. Shorty.
Couple of happy bugs. The district conference was very interesting, very good on Friday. So started handing out a few of my business cards. The district governor of 24-25. I even included the little tag on the card as if I lived that long. So
Work out with it.
yeah, I know.
Mr. Courtney, this is a donation.
yeah. I like why that's over 23.
Ruth, tell us. Listen, I can't remember last time we got a $2 bill.
Hey.
Anyway, what else I'm excited going to Evanston to do a ride out with some Rotarians on about the 21st of May. I guess I'm gonna ride
Around the Rotary building.
maybe once I'm gonna ride the Joe and one and maybe two ride out the Bloomington normal. And then I'll catch the train back to reality. My friend will continue on riding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I can be that. I won't say I work, but I show up at the office. I do a little work. Dr. Linda,
I already gave you my money, but I have a friend from Australia, a young Rotarian, very active. I mean, he's spoken at the convention before, maybe he's going to this year. Evan World.
yeah.
And he plans to be in St. Louis, June 13th, 14th, 15th. And they're looking for others. And so, say they're in their 30s. Yeah. And I talked to them about it a little bit, sounded interested. And then I found out that that's when Jane and Patrick are in town at the James Bridal Shower. And so I can't. So if anybody is interested in that, I will keep on.
It's pretty entertaining.
He's a very neat guy.
Oh, yeah.
Very interesting.
He has a business suit made out of Rory logo stuff. He's got all that one. Oh, yeah. He puts it out.
He talks clubs and districts all the time. And drives a bus for. Klues.
Yeah. On the wrong side of the road too.
But what they, 13, 14, 15.
I recommend it. Steve, I mean, I've seen Steve out better in person. I just don't. President?
I got up here on the table. This plaque was in Bauman's garage for how many years? One time I said, that's the White House. Okay. Anyway, I have arranged on Saturday, ABC Voice opening ceremony. And we're going to donate a exhibit. You'll see on your left was the first overall championship for the ABC in 1952, and that's the plaque for that. Kind of interesting, if you look at the plaque, they actually have a name, which they have the mold. And the one on the right, the team 2 years later, which is like 13, 14 years old, and they won the second grand championship. So that team, the overall 40 championship. And the team, we were probably the year before the ones in the dark uniform, which are actually old softball uniforms that were used. The year before that, a lot of us played on the first floor of the ABC team. So you think about now, 70 years later, how many kids have come up through that program? Athletics and competition. So anyway, there's about, I'm hoping about 5 of us who are still alive are going to be up there for this thing. Better.
Very good.
And updating on the anniversary again. Yeah, we did hear back from Kathy Powell, her boyfriend didn't show up, so that's good. Terry Mylan, I tried calling a couple of times on my voicemail saying that voicemail was full, and I tried texting. So I don't know if I still have a phone number for him or not. And I did call the president of the Kirkwood. He's going to be out of town that day. He was going to forward it to the board to see if he could represent it.
Sent me an email yesterday that she is not able to attend, so Margie will be the only one from Worcester.
All right.
But we need to get some, probably firm numbers by Monday or this month. By Monday, let's say. So we have to know for sure. I looked through, I meant to bring with you today, looked through the list. I think there's like groups, I don't know for sure if we use like for some. Like we're almost everybody else. That are coming right now, or exit.
Did you hear from Jack?
No, I haven't heard of it. Okay.
My first turn of Fragrance Greenway, I just thought of it as a bicycle trails. It's really expanded now, you know, about the arch grounds. I read that article in the paper Sunday. It was obviously and the representatives of this organization. All the trails, I guess, and probably you know yourself. A couple of them, so.
There you go. Should be on.
All right.
Morning.
All right, this is gonna be kind of funny because I lost my voice unexpectedly. Couldn't motivate everyone not to hear from us, but I just lost my voice being ready to say this weekend, and I'm chatting with a lot of folks, and so it's just a little bit kind of like, can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I mean, they said they had a microphone, so I thought we'll press on. I'm really excited to chat with you all today. My name is Emma Klues, and I'm Vice President of Communications and Outreach at Great Rivers Greenway. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to tell you a little bit about our mission. We really are all about making the whole region a more vibrant place. Through, you're not wrong. We are creating a network of trails across the whole region. So the Greenway, essentially, it's kind of, I think of it as a trail plus. They're really unique spaces that connect communities together. And they typically have 4 elements. So the first one is the trail itself. So you're typically paved, fully accessible. People can use them for walking, running, riding a bike, pushing a stroller or a wheelchair. We want them to be available for anyone for any kind of use. And then we have the conservation projects along the way. So we're doing a lot of restoring a habitat or a prairie, a wetland, perhaps putting in some rain gardens to help with stormwater management and flooding, runoff, things like that. So we're doing a lot of different projects along the way to really enhance the environment as we go. We also have the amenities. So restrooms, water fountains, all the things that people need along the way as well. It really depends on where you can put these, on where you're building all over the region, but we try to make sure people have the things. And last but not least, the actual connections to destinations all over the region. So schools, businesses, jobs, we want people to be able to use these for transportation as well as recreation. And we'll get there someday. This is a video. I don't know if you're able to press play on it. But really a legacy of their generation. All right. Great. So the overall vision there was to create this huge network of greenways, both on the 3 counties on our side of the river, St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County, as well as Madison and St. Clair counties in Illinois. So this is the overall vision that was voted on and created by the community. You can see that that's almost impossible to read. It's all green, which is both lovely and a little bit difficult to parse. But over here on our side of the river, it's 1,200 square miles that we're trying to connect together. So it's no small feat. It's the same size of the state of Rhode Island or Yosemite National Park. And it's also 120 different towns. So if you think about all the different mayors and parks departments and county councils and all the different things going on there, it's quite a bit of coordination. And it's about 2 million people that we serve. So just by a show of hands, are folks familiar? Have you been to the Greenways before? A couple, yeah. We're on staff, right? So the Greenways have a lot of benefits for people, both immediately for their, personal well-being and for our region overall. But immediately, it's a safe, free place that people can exercise and can get around, and use them for transportation. They can use them to explore the region in a different way as well and connect to different neighborhoods and meet people. They also, it's really an opportunity to just get outside, get some fresh air, hang out with your family, move your body. Especially during the pandemic, we really heard a lot of folks telling us this was a critical thing for them to be able to keep their mental health and physical health. Get outside. It was funny. Some people were like, "Oh, I get to get outside away from my family." And other people were like, "I don't think anyone needs to get outside and see other people." Either way, we were very thrilled with the people. They also have some benefits for our region overall and sort of our civic well-being. So the Greenways are, as we talked about, doing a lot of conservation work along the way, so helping us for the environment, oftentimes engaging volunteers as well in that process, getting people aware of and stewarding their natural resources in the community. They're also good for the economy. So first of all, we are to take our job very seriously of stewarding your local tax dollars. This is a sales tax funded public agency. So we are putting those dollars back into the local economy through landscape architecture firms, engineering, construction, all of this work is by and large done by local leaders.
Where's your sales?
All 3 of those counties, yes, St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County.
There's a sales tax for that.
Correct. So people voted in the year 2000 for Proposition C, which was clean water, safe parks, and community trails, and a portion of that funding goes towards us. And then there was a second tax actually in 2013. That is just St. Louis City and St. Louis County, and that was to help the renovation of the arch grounds, and it also has a portion that went to Greenways as well.
Right? Is it built in those taxes, if you always will get that, or is that up to the governments to decide each year how they're getting?
It's a good question. The first tax that was passed does not have a sunset. So it is in perpetuity until or unless the people tell us otherwise.
And you'll always keep your portion.
Correct. So that it goes back to the parks departments in those 3 counties and to us as a 50-50 split. The second tax that was passed in 2013 is up for renewal in 2033. So it was a particular year where, if people would like to continue it for more parks and greenways, then that would be when that vote would be renewed. It's also good for our sense of greenways really improve property value and make the region a more vibrant place. It's attracting and retaining talent and hopefully becoming even from a tourist destination as well. It's also something we have found that is interesting just in terms of knitting the communities together because we are a regional agency. We transcend a lot of both real and perceived barriers among all of those different neighborhoods, wards, cities, pick your boundary or your barrier. We're working across all of those. It's fascinating to see when we're building a greenway, perhaps that goes through 4 different towns. Those 4 different towns may not have ever been in a meeting together. They might be thinking about collaboration differently after they've done the project like ours. We're hopeful that we can be a catalyst for other kinds of civic collaboration as well. So just a couple of facts about us. So we have 128 miles of greenways built to date. And we'll look at a map here and I've got some print ones for you in the back as well. We have about 3 million visits a year. So we have little counters that can just sense when people are passing. Not cameras, we don't know who they are, but they're just tracking, how many visits are taking on the greenway. So we do know that people are using them. And it's really helpful for us to know too, which greenways are getting which kinds of use. To know, these folks are walking quite a bit, even on a rainy Monday morning. That's probably used for transportation. That's helpful for us to know that connection to Metrolink is really working in order to get to work. Some of the other ones, sunny Saturday morning, tons of people on bikes. The sensor can tell whether a bike is present or not as well. And so that helps us, again, maybe that's a good place for a bike fix-it station or, another amenity of that. I book lots of projects because the number is always changing, but typically we have about 30 different projects going at any given time in various stages of planning, design, engineering, and construction. They're all being done with civic and community input throughout the region. Lots and lots of partners. So obviously we can't do this without all the municipalities in the region and cooperation, but also other state agencies, Missouri Department of Conservation, Metropolitan Sewer District, local businesses, community organizations like you saw in these neighborhoods. We've not yet come across a partner that we can think we can collaborate with in some way. We also have a strong volunteer program. We're really grateful for the volunteer hours that helps us take care of the Greenways. About 14,000 hours per year on average, which is several full-time staff member equivalent. And then we also, again, take our job seriously of stewarding the tax dollars. At least 93 cents on every dollar is returned to the taxpayers. So we keep our overhead costs very low to make sure that we're delivering on the vision to build those greenways and deliver programs and events to activate those spaces. All right, so this is kind of where we are right now. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but there are printed maps in the back if you'd like. But I just wanted to give you a sense of the solid green lines are what's built to date. The red dashed lines are what's in construction now. And then there's some dashed lines that are green that are the future plans to connect it all together. So again, 128 miles so far, but they're not yet fully connected. So we wanted to make sure that we're spreading the love around the region and investing in lots of different communities. But that does mean it's not fully a cohesive network yet, but that is the goal. The idea, the big vision is about a 600-mile connected network where really anyone can use them all over the region to get anywhere they need to go. So I'm just going to point out a couple of projects that we're working on now. The St. Vincent Greenway goes from the Missouri History Museum at Forest Park up to the University of Missouri St. Louis down. So in between there's a couple of spots that we're working on right now. It's basically, we built the ends and now there's just a missing gap in the middle. So we have two pieces of that under construction. And then the last piece of that in Peachville, we're doing the design right now. Another piece that's in construction is the, in conjunction with the Brentwood Bound project, an extension of the Deer Creek Greenway. So this one's right here and it'll connect to their Rogers Parkway trail system. There's one out in St. Charles as well. You all have ever passed the green bridges over Highways 364 and 94. That was an extension of the Centennial Greenway a couple years back. And now we're extending that further to Schaefer Park and to connect to the Spencer Creek Trail there. And we're also building, if you've seen on Highway 44 over the Merrimack River near 44 and 270, we're building a bridge over the Merrimack River. Some Missouri Department of Transportation was replacing the 44 bridge there. And the community said, hey, how are we going to get across the river? So they came to us, we put in, I believe, $1.5 million. They put in the substructure of the bridge, and then the cities around it, Kirkwood, Sunset Hills, and Fenton, all went in together on a grant and got the money for the ramps to go up to the bridge. So it's a really great partnership among all those different partners to be able to get people safely across the river. That's kind of a once in a generation opportunity to bridge a barrier that large, to be able to connect to, Powder Valley and Emanator and different parks that are on either side of that bridge. And then I thought I would give a little highlight of, real quick, just here's some images of some of the greenways you may have seen around town, just giving you a sense of what they look like. Again, these are paved paths, accessible for everyone. Every once in a while, we have one that's more of like the Katy Trail, that's still flat, but not fully paved. It's really exciting to hear people's stories about how they use them and what kinds of benefits they get. So I thought I would give you a little update on one that's a little bit near you all, which is the Centennial Greenway in Olivet. So this is, if you've ever been on the existing Centennial Greenway, it goes along the 170 right of way from Shaw Park in Olive, along 170 up to, Shaw Park in Clayton, up 170 to Olive Boulevard. So this is Olive here. And basically the idea is to try to get over to Worson Park and Worson Road. So it's broken down into a couple different segments. So in construction right now is the Worson Park segment, and I'll show you some pictures of that in just a minute. They're redoing the park, they're building a community center as well. So the Greenway and community center construction is combined. Then we've got a section that goes, basically just behind the homes in this neighborhood here. This is an old railroad right of way.
Point on Street Road and page out on that.
Yep, this is Olive. And then, where was that? Yeah, I was like, I was thinking- then, yeah, this is River to Bear actually also, if that helps you orient to that.
Is that Katie Park and Elmwood Park?
Yeah.
Goes along the railroad track.
Yeah. This part is the railroad tracks. If you can picture the CDS that's right down here, basically like just past the CDS, you would turn for this, these are railroad tracks here.
If there's railroad tracks up on.
Yeah, there's another one as well. Yeah.
Which goes out, which goes out to A Street from Washington.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So the new community center is where the roller rink is.
Yes, yes.
That's Washington Park,
I
right?
got you. Yeah. That's exactly right. What was the name of that road ring again?
Aloha? Saints. Saints.
And so this is Union Pacific Railroad. We just heard this week that they will allow us to negotiate an easement to be able to use that. So that's huge. It isn't active rail, but they were parking things there. So we did need to make sure that we were negotiating and whether that's useful. So fingers crossed that that goes through. That's a really helpful tool for us. And St. Louis doesn't have a lot of non-active railroads. Our railroads are really still being used very actively. So a lot of other communities across the country can do what they call rails to trails, using old railroad corridors to become trail opportunities. And, you know, it's a lovely opportunity because you've already got the right of way, right, everything's cleared, you don't have to cut down a tree, anything like that. But in our case, we typically have 40 trains a day on these roads, so there's really a lot of opportunities there. So we often break these down into chunks just because they have different partners, different negotiations, and we don't want one little piece to be held up necessarily by another. So we're doing these in piecemeal, even though this isn't that many miles, still breaking it down helps to make sure that we can take care of all those different details. So here's one example of a specific project that's within Morrison Park. If you're not familiar with the plans, there's the community center. They've got all kinds of athletic fields. Some of these things are here already, but they're really giving the park kind of a refresh. And so the Greenway is part of that. And again, as often as we can, we want to be partnering with folks. In this particular instance, the construction is fully combined. So we are not sort of saving costs by not mobilizing two different crews, that type of thing.
This is where the Saints.
Yes.
Used to be.
Yes, exactly right. So essentially, this is Morrison Road out here on the west side. So you can kind of see under the white line is the future Greenway. And this is the base for the community center. So this is just a drone shot that the construction crew took recently.
And then the word.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
Would there be parking there for the second community or community claim from there?
Yeah, there are several parking lots as part of this plan. It's part of the park, yes.
And I think eventually.
Go ahead.
Supposed to connect over to Creek.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, and I don't know the timeline on that one, again, kind of bit by bit, but the big idea would be all the way to Greenway Park, because once you get to Greenway Park, you also have the St. Louis County Parks Trail that connects across the Page extension over into St. Charles County. You connect to the Katy Trail and several other greenways. So that's a really huge piece.
They put the building bridge across Limburg. They find your project.
I don't know that. A bridge across Lindbergh is not something I'm familiar with, so it might be a different one.
That was just connected to Danforth Center to some
Well, that's.
areas west of that.
Yeah.
Ah, I see. I mean, the more connectivity, the better.
It's either over Lindbergh or there's.
Gotcha.
Railroad right away that we're talking about, so.
More the merrier. What other people are also doing is that. All good by us, right?
From that area to Dallas and do, where they'll, used to be a quarry there. One is to the lake, the south, north.
The house is more of
But that was, there was some railroad.
There's that set that crosses out of Page. And that's the railroad trail
very close to this. Just stop the page.
Yeah.
Goes right on here.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that was in the west.
Yep.
Right.
That's the one that lines up down here.
Towards Freeport, like, that's kind of the eventual, at least. Target is out there.
So it needs to be something.
So the only reason I know is when they were planning this construction, they approached our church on Olive.
Oh, okay.
One of the alternate routes was throwing my little bun.
Yes.
to go behind our property.
Gotcha. Yeah, we really explore lots of different routes with community organizations and neighbors to see what the community wants and what would they prefer and what would be, helpful, where people want to connect to. That's a huge part of the process and part of why it, for good reasons, takes a couple of years to get a Greenway into construction. So this just shows a little bit about the trees are protected and stuff for their, their area there. And this one includes putting in a culvert as well, so a lot of people think, why can't we get these set of pastures, lay down some asphalt, there's really a lot to it. Sometimes it's a lot of earthwork, putting in drainage, doing things like retaining walls to make sure that it's, again, strong enough to be fully accessible. We really want to make sure everyone can get out. And then one exciting opportunity is we may be able to paint a mural like this this is crossing on Olive under 170. So we're at the end of where the Greenway ends now, where you would essentially turn left to go to that CVS and then pick up that trail. Could we make that a bright and colorful space to make sure people know where to go and that they're going the right way? It's just one of the tools that we use besides signage. Sometimes signs can get a little cluttery as well, so we're trying to kind of do both. But also just let people know that this is a Greenway and to be watching out for people.
I'm impressed with your bridge there on 44. You really ought to be getting a whole lot of railroad companies that have a rusty one.
It's a pretty good billboard, honestly. It's usually, it can cost up to $1 million to do something like that, but it is also, for us, it's protecting from that rust as well. You all may have seen that trestle over I-70, just north of the arch. You've ever seen that green bridge? That was it's a 1.5-mile abandoned railroad that we own so that it can eventually be an elevated greenway. So it has not yet been developed, but we did paint it originally because the rust is going to flake off onto the covers. And I-70 was closed anyway, so that saves, that's really the biggest cost, to shut down a highway, right? In the middle of the night and get the crews out there. So we did want to paint it to be able to sort of protect it and just be able to maintain it and then also save those costs while it's closed. I think this is the end. I just want to give you a little bit of an overview, give you an example of our project, and happy to chat with any questions at all. And thanks for bearing with my very silly voice this morning.
Are there other communities, metropolitan communities with similar trail systems, and where are they?
That's a good question. Many communities have invested in greenways. To my knowledge, no one has a setup like this. The way that we created a ballot initiative and tasked 3 counties to work together on a regional vision is not replicated in the US, really in the world. Now, many cities have incredible trail systems. They just are doing them through city or county or state or other funds. So, Portland, Oregon. They don't always have so many. Yes, yeah. So it's happening quite a bit, but not exactly in the same way. But I will say to that point, we have had communities come and talk to us because it is, and I don't say this, I say this with humility. I'm an honor to serve here, but we've had, the city of Memphis called us and the thought was, how you got 2 sales tax caps for this kind of infrastructure in a city, in a region that is pretty built for cars. Like, this was fairly forward thinking by, not me in the 90s, but it came from the community, it came from all the people. So in my brain, it's a huge honor to be able to deliver this vision back to people that they invested in, and it was fairly forward thinking, particularly in the year 2000. Yeah.
Are you part of that program to connect Forest Park with Clayton and downtown and Tower Grove Park and Fairgrounds Park?
Yeah, let me go to that.
Oh, I can.
I'll just tell you, the Brookline Greenway is the big idea of connecting Forest Park to the Gateway Arch and Fairground Park to Tower Grove Park and some kind of loop in the middle. So that's about 14 different neighborhoods in the city of St. Louis, connecting those all together with a pretty significant urban greenway that really lets people connect around. So not only the central corridor there, but connecting to Fairground Park, over to the NGA, and then down to Targo Park as well. So the first segment of that is being built in conjunction with the new soccer stadium. So the greenway will go right in front of it on Market Street. And have a huge public art exhibit dedicated to the people of Mill Creek Valley, the neighborhood that was fully demolished and folks that were displaced to build Highway 64 and SLU and all of those other things right there. So that's really exciting, but it's a very big project. It will be the next.
They're gonna show pictures of that. What, no,
I don't
the community report.
Yeah, there's a whole, if you'd like to visit, if you visit bricklinegreenway.org, they have a whole, there's video, there's images, historical pictures from the archives of, it was a thriving Black neighborhood, and like 20,000 people were basically just scattered to the wind with no resources, and then everything was just raised, it was fully flattened.
What kind of staff do you have that manages all this?
Good question. There's about 30 people. So we're not a very, very large, for 3 counties, it's a fairly small organization. We have 5 different teams. The build team, who is very, very complex language, build. Build team is all the project managers that are basically hiring all the landscape architects, engineers, working with City of Olivet, permitting, zoning, all of those things, managing that process. They also have colleagues that are civic engagement managers, so planning that open house, public survey, talking to a church, in any given community. And then I'm head of the team promote. So this is communication, outreach, programs, events, getting the word out, all of that good, making sure the website works for people, that everyone has the information they need. The sustain team is more helping to take care of the greenways. So the way that we were set up was actually we would build and then we turn it over to the municipality to operate and maintain. And you can imagine with 120 different towns, the wherewithal and capacity and budget and knowledge is wildly varying across those places. So the sustain team helps to supplement, helps to get volunteer efforts to supplement operations and maintenance, as well as conservation projects along the way. So they are really the experts. If you ask me something about a tree, I'm not going to pass that. The sustain team. And then we have, of course, admin and finance, very important to make sure that we're stewarding the dollars. And then we do have a foundation, 501c3 nonprofit, to help solicit private funds that supplements the tax dollars. So by and large, our budget is funded by those local sales taxes, but we also leverage as often as we can with federal grants, private donations, local philanthropic efforts. The more the merrier to try to get these greenways out. Does that answer your question? Yes. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, I was down by the riverfront one time. There's a greenway entrance near the Admiral Casino.
Yes.
And then how far along the river does that go?
It goes, so it starts actually at Shodo, a little bit south of, and then goes right past under the arch, and then past where the Admiral was at the Port of Share, and it goes all the way up to the old Chino Bridge, so almost to 270.
So you could, is it the McKinley Bridge that's?
The McKinley Bridge is an option to cross over the Eads Bridge and the Old Chamberlain Bridge.
What I especially enjoy is the ability to walk across the Mississippi.
Yes,
I discovered about 4 or 5 years ago, there's a beautiful pathway
yes,
across the McKinley, and then when the arch was done, I noticed you can walk across there and turn around at the casino and come back.
exactly.
It's just exhilarating for me to be in the middle of that.
It really is. If you haven't been to the Old Chamberlain Bridge, I would highly recommend it. It's incredible. It's up close to 270, but you can go across the river. The bridge is about a mile long. It's great for eagle watching in the winter, especially.
Where do you park? I thought that was closed off.
The parking lot on the Missouri side is closed. We're working on a renovation for that, but the Illinois side is open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you can click there from our website and get the,
All right, thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Okay,
How did you start?
how did the whole organization start? Yeah, really, it was that St. Louis 2004 initiative. They did extensive community engagement to ask people, what should we be investing in? Essentially, the idea was 1904 was a big year in St. Louis, right? And what is 2004 going to look like? What's the legacy of our generation? And again, a lot of what people heard was clean water, safe parks, and community trails. So that's what was put on that ballot initiative. Other things came out of that too. There's our Foundation for Health, or the Regional Health Commission, excuse me. There are a couple of different efforts that came out of it, our organization being one of them. So once that sales tax was passed by a vote of the people in the year 2000, it usually starts like the next year, right, that the tax is collected. So in the next 1 to 2 years, they have a staff member or two, and then it has grown from there. Yeah.
Several questions. Speaking of the road pressure trail down in St. Louis, seawalls are up continually on the north end of the yard. That's a pain in the butt.
Yes, it is.
Wherever you see that it is uphill, downhill. I wish someone could lobby the city to have a, by the big power plant. there.
Yep.
And
We have been working on it, but we are creating for now. We're not having luck with opening that floodgate. Oh, I think there's a mechanical issue with it, to be honest, but I don't know the full story. But we are creating a detour to go through the arch grounds through the landing to be able to get around it.
secondly, Chester. Is there any hope ever making a loop instead of just going forward?
Yes, actually there is. So there's the one that's in Chesterfield is like an outlet mall. It kind of looks like a wishbone. And there's another chunk down here. City of Chesterfield is actually working with those landowners to be able to get that piece of it connected. So then we would just leave that one last stretch to be able to make it big.
There's a nice center at the, what's it called up there at the far western end.
Yeah, the trailhead. Yeah, Centaur Road. That's what we have.
I was cycling in Sacramento last fall. And they had bike patrols there. When I was there, they had a group meeting, maybe 30 or 40 of this kind of refresher course, all riding groups. They have red vests that say bike patrol. I think they're all vetted. You just don't have strangers. So when they were out riding, probably for whatever reason, and someone has a problem, or someone, has some knowledge in the problem. Okay, too much information. I need to arrest them, and I've got one place to leave my bike outside, and that's a 25. But they have red vests and there's a lot of new cyclists out there now.
Absolutely.
And they go with it when they take it.
The pandemic worked it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They have no idea what. Know what I mean, because they have no clue. But that's in many class.
Yeah, we have piloted a Greenway Guides program the last couple of years on just a couple of the greenways, but that exact thing. People invest, they're trained in CPR and first aid and hospitality as we're making sure people know where they're going. Do you need anything? Where's the restroom? We would love to expand that. That's something that we're looking at right now to see whether we can get that on all the greenways. Yeah, love it. I know, I think we've talked about it. We've had our director. Yeah, I don't want to take up your whole meeting, but I do have business cards here and maps in the back that I'll read for you all. We are more than happy to answer questions or talk with anyone anytime. It's very important to us that people are really involved in this, that will make a better product, and that is what this is all about. So thank you for having me today, and thank you for it. We'll see you on the greetings.
What's going to be back? That's, oh, that's probably the next donation of the foundation.
I don't know what the money is, but I'm just gonna throw it all down.
What was left over from the start from the actual driver.
That was the last of what was right there.
Some from last week, right? Some put some money in there from last week too.
That was, it's all, the one more.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
This is all going.
Well, you take it out, Kyle.
Nope, wrong. I seen earlier, it's in 117. That was here before me.
Oh, no. Andy's looking for his, so I bet it's his.
Who was here before me now, and Jeremy, and.
What meeting?
He said earlier.
Did we empty the tickets?
Oh, there's. Yeah, nobody's drawn out. Draw another one.
Andy still looked at it. I think somebody forgot to come to pick someone.
115, that's even before that.
Going the wrong way.
You're in charge.
114. 6 more tries. 118.
Hey, that's me.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, but was that this week or last week?
I got it right.
Yeah, we should look at, okay, so he gives you.
Make sure.
Yeah.
118. Everything's with 117.
Okay, so don't.
Hey, John Franklin.
99. So,
On the back, our drawing is equal to the payout of the one that.
Can you?
Bring that back.
Yeah.
Like we could be a better.
It was essentially done anyway.